The X-Zone radio and TV show is largely an opinion talk show. All opinions, comments, or statements of fact expressed by Rob McConnell's guests are strictly their own and are not to be construed as those of the X-Zone radio and TV show or in any manner endorsed by Rob McConnell, Relmar McConnell Media Company, Talkstar Radio Network, its affiliated stations, or employees.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
And welcome back to the X Zone, everyone. My name is Rob McConnell, coming to you from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Worldwide toll-free, 1-800-610-7035. My email address, xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. On MSN Messenger, xzoneradiotv@hotmail.com. And our website, www.xzoneradiotv.com. My guest this hour is Dr. Selwyn Goodwin. And he's the author of a very fascinating and interesting book entitled On the Way Home. All right, Exo Nation, just sit back, close your eyes for a second. I'm going to give you a little preface. Stephen Henderson, neurosurgeon, head of his department at a local medical school, is driving home after a late-night visit to the hospital. He is stopped by a police officer and gets out of his car at the officer's request. The officer puts out his right hand as if to shake hands. Henderson responds, then wakes up to find himself in a spaceship where the police officer explains that they are on their way to a parallel universe where Earth, its people, and solar system are duplicated. Henderson is immediately angry. This is UFO nonsense, he thinks. Extraterrestrial abduction, ridiculous science fiction. It simply couldn't and doesn't happen. We might have agreed with him, but he is forced to change his opinion. Why? What happened? Dr. Henderson is abducted to perform an operation on a powerful political leader, which he does successfully. But unexpectedly, this success leads him into a situation where his life and return to Earth are threatened. The assistant surgeon at the operation is a beautiful woman who is attracted to Henderson, not knowing who he really is, and she is drawn into his struggle to escape. He also does not find her unattractive. Stephen Henderson is returned to Earth, persuaded by his encounter that he was indeed away in outer space and that others are out there. After reading On the Way Home, will we be convinced as he is? My guest this hour, Exonation, is Dr. Selwyn Goodwin, the author of On the Way Home. And Dr. Goodwin, welcome to the X Zone.
Thank you.
Tell me, Doctor, where did your interest in UFOs and where did your idea for this book come from?
I think it really started way back. In 1957, you may remember Sputnik was launched by the Russians.
Yes, I do, yeah.
And I was living in Cape Town in South Africa at the time. My father took me out of the city so that the lights wouldn't interfere with it, and we had some binoculars, and I looked at this little light going across the sky, and like everybody else, it was a remarkable experience. I just can picture the whole evening even now. And I've I don't know, I think a lot of people have interest in astronomy and the stars, and I frequently, we all look at the moon and I think, what is it all about type of thing. The idea of the novel came to me, I don't quite remember how, because that was a while ago too. That was in the early 1990s. But I had read an article in Scientific America about the possibility of parallel universes, and that really sparked the whole thing.
All right, Doctor, please stand by. You and I have to take a 2-minute commercial break. Thank you for sharing your time with us here on the X-Zone tonight, sir.
Thank you.
X-Zone Nation, Dr. Selwyn Goodwin is our special guest. His website is www.othersinspace.com. That's www.othersinspace.com. It's been a very strange time for ufology. We had those United States Air Force people who had a press conference, didn't present anything that was out of this world, nothing that they didn't tell us about over the years. And then we had the United Nations telling us that, no, they are not going to have an extraterrestrial greeter or an ambassador. It was all a bunch of bunk that somebody thought up on the internet. We'll be back on the other side of this commercial break as we continue from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Don't go away.
Light in your head and dead on your feet. Well, another crazy day.
Exonation, Dr. Selwyn Goodwin is our special guest. He's the author of a very interesting book. It's entitled, are you ready for this? Do you have your pencils and paper ready? Okay. All right. www.othersinspace.com is his website. And the doctor is the author of a very interesting book. It's about space. It's about alien abductions. It's about an earthling who is abducted, taken into a UFO, brought to a parallel universe. The name of the book is On the Way Home. And Doctor, do you believe in UFOs, alien abductions, and the paranormal?
That's a tough. I would say, do I believe in them? I believe in the possibility of them. I've never been convinced that there have definitely been. Well, UFOs, of course, by definition, are unidentified.
That's right.
Yes, I certainly. It's too much to really know and to have a definite opinion at this stage. Is the way I feel about it. But the possibility can't be ruled out. I mean, there are so many unexplained things.
That's right. And, extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. And it seems that this is what is lacking within the world of ufology since going back to Roswell is the evidence to substantiate these extraordinary claims.
Yes, I think that's very well put.
Did you try to get your book published through a literary agent when you finished it, and if so, what was the response?
Yes, I did. I certainly did. The idea came to me in the early 90s, but I was still in medical practice, and I didn't have time to really develop it. Then I retired at the end of 1999, and I started working on it. And, I've never published a book before. It was extremely difficult. I have written, I think, over 200 letters to literary agents, producers, publishers. I've written to actors that I thought might play a part in a movie if that were ever to be made. And I just have been rebuffed all the time, repeatedly. And it's obviously a very difficult profession, I think, to be a literary agent. They do get many, many, many applications, I've been told by several of them. One of them said to me, some lady in Chicago, I think it was, said to me that it costs about $3,000 to accept me as a client and then to sort of get me known and to get me on her books and to talk to other publishers about it. And I had no past writings that I've done.
Mm-hmm.
So it really has been frustrating, but understandable.
So how did
Did I
you?
answer your question?
Yes. So how did you finally get your book out there?
Well, I didn't actually. I made every mistake that a person who's sure they have a good book available. I first of all published it on my own. I was living in Richmond. I went to a private press and had 1,000 copies published, and everybody said, "Don't do it," and I did. And then I went back to the agents, and once I told them that, they were even more reluctant to talk to me or listen to my or read my letters. Then I went to iUniverse, which is the you probably know the publishing division of Barnes and Noble, and I self-published through iUniverse. Had the book printed by them, put together and printed by them.
Why was it that after you had your book self-published that the literary agents and the publishers wouldn't talk to you? I would imagine that this would show that you have so much faith in your project and your book that you were going to do it come hell or high water.
Well, that's really nice of you to say that, and it certainly is a point of view, but not the point of view that the agents have. They have the point of view that I had no reputation because I did it myself. Nobody had accepted me as a writer of any consequence, for want of a better word. That's the way they look at it. They had nobody to refer to say, yeah, Goodwin can write a book.
I'm just wondering about all those people who are now self-publishing, if they're doing more harm than good by writing their own books and by going through the self-publishing process. Do you think that...
I agree. I think that's really likely that that's happening. But, of course, one doesn't know it until one actually does it.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, also, Mr. McConnell, there's the point of view that a lot of people have books self-published just because they want to have them for their family and friends. I met a fellow at a bookstore, a fellow about 80, who was writing a book on an attitude that he has towards organized religion. And he says, I don't expect to get rid of more than 80 copies. So, I think in self-publishing, I really don't think that many self-published books make it big in any way. I have the feeling that, I obviously people who write a novel, most people who self-publish publish on a particular subject.
Yes.
They're experts on that. And I have the feeling that my novel, not written by an accomplished author, is certainly legible, it's readable. I think I have put some entertaining things in it, but it seems to me that it would be much more interesting as a movie. Can I tell you? Can I tell you sort of a story that happened?
Please do, sir.
To me.
Please,
well,
yes.
Well, after I retired from active practice from the year 2000 for a few years, I worked for insurance companies examining people who were taking out big policies.
Mm-hmm.
The insurance company wanted an MD's opinion, and it used to take me some time. One of the fellows was a lieutenant colonel in the Air Force. I was still in Richmond. He lived in Williamsburg, Virginia, and he worked for NASA. And I spoke to him about my book, and he said two things. First of all, I want you to look up something in Breitbart.com, www.breitbart.com, back in September of 2007, and he said there's an article about parallel universes. And so I said, so he said, send me your book. So I sent a copy of the book, and he wrote back most enthusiastically. he said, I finished your book, it's fantastic, it should be on the movies and a television series and multiple movies, etc. So he really encouraged me, obviously, and I'd almost given up by then. And so I've been working at it sporadically since then.
Where did you...
I'm so sorry.
No, go ahead, sir.
I was just going to say, I really think that the book, to me, sort of reads more like a script for a movie. That's not strictly true, but anyway, I think it would make a great movie, put it that way.
How did you research your book? Because, you've got UFOs, you've got an alien abduction, you've got parallel universes. How long did it take you to do the research?
Well, that also is a good question, because this is actually the book that I have now is in quotation marks, the third edition of the book, because I spoke to friends and a couple of people on the telephone, and they said, look, you did this and that with regard to your impression about what it's like on the other planet, and I modified it to some extent. Mm-hmm. From the point of view of research, I looked up parallel universes. I got that quote that he talked about from Breitbart.com, and it says, can I read that to you briefly?
Yes, sir. Please go ahead.
It's from Breitbart, September the 23rd, 2007. Parallel universes really do exist, according to a mathematical discovery by Oxford scientists described by one expert as one of the most important developments in the history of science. And the parallel universe theory, first proposed by the United States physicist Hugh Everett in 1950, helps explain mysteries of quantum mechanics that have baffled scientists for decades, it is claimed. And a remarkable thing to me was that in that article they mentioned about a person possibly having an automobile accident on one universe, mm-hmm. and he may be killed in that accident. In a parallel universe, he may just avoid the accident by a second or two. And in the third universe, he may actually be injured. And in my novel, I have that almost precise thing where you mentioned at the very beginning when you were talking about the plot of the thing, Henderson is going home at night from the hospital. Well, he'd actually gone to the hospital because a 17-year-old kid had been knocked off his motorcycle. And then in the book, later on the other planet, the bad guy in the book, a fellow named Zingley, actually almost intentionally knocks a fellow off his motorcycle, and he gets injured. So the coincidence of my writing about that and then seeing it on Breitbart, it was just sort of wildly exciting to me. I remember jumping up and running into my wife and running and telling her about it, and in her usual calm way, she said, yes, dear, something like that.
It's funny how all wives know how to do that. Yes, dear. Doctor, please.
Yes, I think you're right.
Doctor, please.
They have to.
Yeah, tell me about it. Doctor, please stand by. You and I have to take a commercial break with the news at the bottom of the hour. Great having you with us here, sir, and thank you for sharing your story. Exonation, our very special guest this hour is Dr. Selwyn Goodwin. He's the author of a book entitled On the Way Home. And his website is www.othersinspace.com. Parallel universes, alien abductions, UFOs, things that fly in the night skies. All part of what we talk about here in the X Zone. My name's Rob McConnell. We'll be back on the other side of this commercial break with the news as we continue from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Don't go away.
I wanna love you all over. Do you believe in love?
You're listening to the X Zone Radio Show, live and around the world on the Talkstar Radio Network, X Zone Broadcast Network, UK High Definition Radio, Euro High Definition Radio, and Star Cable. Our toll-free telephone number worldwide is 1-800-610-7035. Our email address, xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. on MSN Messenger, X-Zone Radio TV at hotmail.com, and our website, www.xzoneradiotv.com.
Never leave, 'cause I believe I'm in love. Mama, yeah. Never knew how complete love could be till she kissed me and said, baby, please go away. It feels so right.
And welcome back to the X-Zone, everyone. My name is Rob McConnell. We're coming to you from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. 1-800-610-7035. Email xzone at xzoneradiotv.com. On MSN Messenger, xzoneradiotv at hotmail.com. And our website, www.xzoneradiotv.com. My guest this hour is Dr. Selwyn Goodwin, and he's the author of On the Way Home. His website is www.othersinspace.com. So, when we look at parallel universes, do you think there will ever be a time where we can actually go from one parallel universe to the next, or from one dimension to the next?
Wow. Wow. I obviously I don't know. My book explains that the answer is yes. That is my story. Obviously, it's sort of told in a factual sort of a way that this is what happened to Henderson. You mentioned again at the beginning that he was stopped by the policeman, and then he makes as if to shake hands, and then he finds himself in the spaceship. Well, the alien from the other planet had very quickly put his hand up onto Henderson's temple, and in his hand he held a device which transmitted sleep waves to Henderson's brain. So he immediately falls asleep. That's how he gets Henderson into the spaceship. And then the other sort of, in quotation marks, technical details I've handled in the book. And I've sort of assumed things about time that, for example, Henderson spends time in the other parallel universe but is not missed back at home for a particular reason, that being that because he spent time in a parallel universe, he could not have spent time on his home planet, on Earth. So he's not really missed, although he's away for a length of time on the other planet. And I don't know whether that is scientifically provable or possible or true, obviously. But I wrote the whole book in a way that is, the sort of essence of the story is that it is possible. Does that answer your question?
It certainly does, sir. And after the amount of time that you've done research on your book, and obviously you have an interest in extraterrestrials, UFOs, and the paranormal.
Right.
Do you think,
yes,
sir, that it is possible that the governments of the world could actually suppress the existence of UFOs and extraterrestrials as those within the conspiracy theory genre believe that they're here? The government knows, but they're not telling us?
Wow. I would say yes to I think the answer is yes, that it could be suppressed. My only question is, why would the government choose to do that?
Yeah.
can you think of a reason why the government would choose to do that?
Well, there's a couple of possibilities that I've discussed in the past, both on air and off air. Number one is the arrival of extraterrestrials would certainly at one time have been the demise of established religions as we know it. For example, Christianity. The governments of the United States, well, let's just use the United States for now, is based on religion. In God we trust. You take when you go to court or when you're sworn in, and so help me God.
Right.
If it was proven that extraterrestrials did in fact exist, and it doesn't coincide with the book of Genesis as we understand it, then I could see that it could be interpreted as the beginning of chaos, because without religion, therefore, there would be no law and order. Without law and order, you have anarchy. However,
I think I'd like to. Can I answer that?
Sure.
This fellow that I mentioned, the lieutenant colonel who worked for NASA, part of the letter he wrote to me, he said that he thought I could expand it, on different parts of it. He said, you can also show evolution of two or more planets acknowledging each other, treaties, potential wars, etc.,
Right.
like the evolution of our world as it is today. Then he says, evolution of religion, one God for all of creation, all universes, all planets, and tying together religions of the past 3,000 years would also be interesting. So I think that if a person is, religious and believes in a God as a creator, etc., then obviously God created everything. He arranged for the extraterrestrials to come down here. I don't see that is sort of anti-religious. Of course, I know that people do think that, but it doesn't occur to me that would necessarily be the interpretation.
But what would happen if the alien species or the extraterrestrial species that would actually make contact with us would prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that we were the result of everything just being right, and life was created without the help of a supreme deity, that there is no supreme deity?
I would say two things to that. I think, when I was in practice, at one stage I was practicing hypnosis on certain patients.
Oh wow!
And read a book. I think it was by two men, Peterson and Ulliott. I think that was who it was. And they start off the book by saying the desire and the ability of the human mind. It's something like this: the desire and the ability of the human mind to believe that which is beyond rational proof is characteristic of the human mind. In other words, my interpretation of that is that we don't like to say we don't know. It's very uncomfortable to say we don't know. So we have an answer in the Creator, that the Creator put us here, put the stars there, put the firmament there, put everything there. So that, again, just to repeat what I said before, if the Creator created everything, He created aliens and wanted them to come down here. I don't. That's my impression. I don't see that it rules out any particular religion.
But what I was trying to say is, if these alien visitors have been monitoring our planet, as so many within the UFO community believe, that their prime directive does not allow them to have intentional contact with us. I think too many people have been watching Star Trek for too long, but anyway. What would happen if the extraterrestrials that had been watching us for so long were actually the gods that we depicted in the Bible and other books of religious philosophy? Because at that time in the development of our species, we had no way of knowing that these could actually be visitors from another planet. So in our lack of wisdom, we made them deities. How do we know that the gods of Greek mythology were not actually visitors from another planet? They certainly, exhibited some very strange powers. So,
Right.
so how would this?
According to the people, yeah.
Yeah. So how would this relate if we were to actually be told, and it was proven beyond a shadow of a doubt, that those that we call God and creators, as well as those who have visited us in days of old, the Nephilim, the splitting of the Red Sea could be explained by alien intervention, the pillar of smoke by day and the pillar of fire by night, maybe a UFO, who knows? So how do you think that these changes would actually affect us here on this planet Earth, or this new knowledge would affect us?
Wow. Goodness me. I must say, Mr. McConnell, it's beyond me. I can't offer anything on that.
No.
I'm sure you heard that just very recently there was a possible alternative to the Red Sea parting.
Yes.
When they thought that it might be a part of the Nile River being blown open by a 60-mile-an-hour wind. Did you read that?
Yeah, yes, I did. Yes, I did. In fact, we've got an article in the September edition of the X-Chronicles newspaper about that. I believe that as we progress as a species, and as new sciences are unveiled, like quantum physics and quantum mechanics are certainly going to be opening up many doors, string theory, we will look at what we used to believe as miracles and say, well, yeah, maybe back then in the year 2000 it was looked at as wow, but here we are in the year 3000 and everything's changed. Let's just take a hypothetical situation. Let us say that the events that are written about in the Bible happen today. How would we report them, knowing what we know today about science, mathematics, physics, chemistry?
What a wonderful thesis! My word.
Yeah.
Yes, and in fact, you may be implying that we are.
I think I might be.
Well, it would fit. Goodness me.
You see, I look at the Bible. I look at the Bible in a different way. You see, if I was to re-edit the Bible, I would put Noah's Ark as the first chapter. You see, I look at Noah's Ark as a spaceship. The Ark is a spaceship.
Right.
Noah and his family are the crew and scientists aboard this craft. Animals 2 by 2 are not the actual animals themselves, but DNA.
Wow.
This spacecraft lands on this planet, third planet from the sun. And all life is replicated from the DNA that these explorers from another planet have brought to this barren yet young planet that offered so much. And then I would take the other books and put them in an order that, well, I wouldn't change the order that much, except for Noah. I would put him first.
Wow. Yeah. Well, gee, I think it's a fascinating exercise. I don't know what to say.
And I've often looked at the book and the story about Sodom and Gomorrah, and about how Lot and his family, they had to go shielded by the mountains, and Lot's wife was turned into a pillar of salt because. Right. Okay, now what happens hypothetically if the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah was the first recorded nuclear blast?
I knew you were going to come to that. Yes.
because they had to be shielded by the mountains to protect them from the blast. And what happened to Lot's wife was she wasn't turned into a pillar of salt. She was turned into a pillar of ash. Ezekiel's wheel. A UFO.
All we need is to prove it. Wow, that's
Food
I mean,
for
I don't
thought.
mean that we need to prove it, but I mean it would be interesting to be able to prove it.
Wouldn't it? You know, and when archaeologists look at a lot of the petroglyphs, they can certainly depict what can certainly be seen as flying machines. So
Yes, have you read Eric Van Daniken's book?
Yes, I had Chariots of the Gods. I've had the pleasure of spending a weekend talking to Eric Von Daniken in person, going back to 89 or 90 when I hosted the X Symposium in St. Catharines. He was our keynote speaker, and you know, he's an amazing man.
That's a fascinating book, absolutely fascinating book.
Doctor,
I don't know enough about the facts of the occurrences. You know, I don't.
Doctor, you and I have to take a commercial break, sir. Please stand by. I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but
sure, none at all.
I certainly didn't see this break coming. You and I were having such a great discussion that it kind of crept up on me. Exonation, Dr. Selwyn Goodwin is our special guest. He's the author of On the Way Home. His website, www.othersinspace.com. The good doctor and I return on the other side of this break. Don't go away. Exonation, my special guest this hour is the author of On the Way Home. His name is Dr. Selwyn Goodwin, and his website is www.othersinspace.com. First of all, Dr. Goodwin, thank you very much for joining us today here in the X Zone. It's been a great pleasure talking to you, sir, and I wish you much success with your book, On the Way Home. What words of wisdom would you have for someone listening to us around the world tonight who's saying, geez, I've got a book inside of me. Should I write it or should I just forget it?
Well, I have I really do have a collection of aphorisms, you know, clever things that people said. And I have this thing in front of me, which I always do. It's by Sidney J. Harris, and he says this: regrets for the things we did can be tempered by time. It is regret for the things we did not do that is inconsolable. I am 78, and I know that that's true. We can sort of forgive ourselves for making mistakes, but it's impossible to forgive ourselves for something we didn't do, which we think we should have done.
Isn't that the
truth?
truth?
So if a person has a book, I say, write the darn thing. If that's what you want to do, don't look back 5 years. Oh, I should have done it 5 years ago. You know, just do it. It's a lot of fun, and I found it very educative. You know, just to do it, I think it's improved my English a lot, and my sentence construction, etc., etc. I would say do it. It's not easy. It's all, you know. As I mentioned at the beginning of the interview, it's very difficult to get into into a literary agent. Most of them, to my sort of interpretation, have a steady business. They have their clients. They make a certain amount of money. They don't necessarily want the shooting star to come and give them 10 million all at the same time.
Right.
You know, that's the way I look at it. Very difficult to break in.
Doctor, I must say it's been a great pleasure talking to you, sir. You are a man who is no stranger to challenges because my wife is in the medical field. I know how hard she works, and I know the challenges that all professional members of the medical field face on a daily basis. So I know it takes a very special kind of person to be a doctor, a nurse, a paramedic, or anyone that works with the public, I guess, for that matter. So do you think that your tenacity as a doctor certainly helped you as an author?
I beg what was that question?
Do you think that you're being a doctor and the challenges you face on a daily basis helped you as an author to face the challenges that an author faces?
Oh, it might be part and parcel of the same sort of, part of being a doctor. I think you mentioned it. You didn't use the word grind, but part of it is a grind.
Yeah.
Certainly, I don't mean by any means to say that I've never enjoyed it. I really enjoyed my career. I was a family physician. I have an older brother who was a physician. He said, listen to your patients. And I did.
All right, and I've got to listen to my producer, sir. Unfortunately, we've run out of time for tonight.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Dr. Goodwin, take care of yourself, sir. Congratulations. And Exonation, www.othersinspace.com. I'll be back on the other side of this break. Don't go away.
Can I say that you did really well?